I got a very partial, incomplete response last night to a FOIA request that I'd made with the Department of Justice Inspector General, which did not include the forensics that supposedly came along with some conclusions and summaries they made. So that will be a process that who knows if I'll ever get the documents I've been asking for months. But this is very typical, reporters will tell you.
Political dirty tricks are nothing new. Though there is no evidence whatsoever, we can only guess the reaction President Washington had when word first started sifting around town about his having wooden teeth. Nothing more than a myth for a man who suffered dental problems his entire life. But it's no myth presidents and powerful people will go after those they see as dangerous to their legacy, and often we are left to decide where the truth actually resides. Her book is entitled Stonewalled, My Fight for Truth Against the Forces of Obstruction, Intimidation, and Harassment in Obama's Washington. She's an award-winning investigative journalist who will not back down. Let's welcome back Sharyl Attkisson to MidPoint. Sharyl, good to talk to you again.
Thank you for having me.
Sharyl, I know full well that you are going to go straight ahead with this, and you are going to continue to push ahead on what you feel is the intimidation from the Obama government. Here we have, of course, now word that the Office of the Inspector General, quote, was not able to substantiate the allegations that your computers were subject to remote intrusion by the FBI, other government personnel, or otherwise. In other words, they have pretty much smacked down and said, you're all wrong. What's your response to them?
Well, they really didn't say that at all. So there's been a lot of misreporting, understandably so. They didn't even look at the prime computer involved because it's owned by CBS, and CBS did not want to turn it over to the IG. At the time, CBS's reasoning in part was, why give it to the agency that you think may be partly responsible? We don't feel comfortable. So I asked them to look at my personal computer, which I already had forensics for, but in hopes that likely they would find nothing, but perhaps they would find something more than we had. And instead, they either lacked the will or the technical ability to dig very deeply and weren't able to even find what we have. But it was spun incorrectly as if they've dispelled or ruled out all sorts of intrusions, which is, again, not the case.
So then left websites such as Media Matters got it all wrong, and they're just looking to make some hay at your expense, are they?
Well, I didn't read Media Matters, but you start to see the swirl of propaganda get picked up, and then it kind of bleeds over into what some people think are mainstream sources. I did see a lot of headlines that said that it disputed claims. Well, it didn't dispute. It is accurate that they couldn't substantiate it, but it's also accurate that they couldn't rule it out. And if reporters would ask critical questions of those accused of wrongdoing, rather than focusing all their attention on whistleblowers and those who have had things happen to them, they might get some answers to these questions, but many of them don't either lack the critical thinking or the will to do these sorts of things.
Sharyl, what is the critical question that they need to be asking then?
Well, if they want to clear up the IG's report, they should ask the IG, did they rule out any sorts of intrusions into all of my computers? And the IG would have to tell them they didn't examine all the computers. They only examined the one that I gave them access to. And then they would have to say, no, they couldn't rule it out. And that then I guess you could ask them, is Attkisson's forensics that she says she has wrong? And they would have to tell you they have no way to know that. Their expertise in the Apple area was, I think, much less than the expertise of those who I know of who've helped me look at the computers. And that's understandable. They're used to dealing with Windows, and it gets very highly technical. But, I thought it was worth a shot. And in the end, it looks to me, I guess since the fact they won't release the forensics to me or answer my Freedom of Information request, there's something they don't want me to see. I don't know why. But I would say the summary was constructed, the one they released to the press, to kind of make people report the way they did, as if they sort of ruled these things out, although they didn't technically say so. It seemed to me that someone who directed the writing of the summary did want people to conclude that.
When we see headlines such as those, I got about a minute left or so, but headlines such as these, such as a private technician may have contaminated your personal computer, and others who are not asking the critical questions, are you pretty much resigned to the fact that no matter what you say, no matter what evidence you put forward, that the OIG, someone in the government, someone there who is helping them, will simply just look to discredit you without any question whatsoever, and they are not just going to let you get away with this? They're going to look to make you look bad at every turn.
I would just say the read logically from what they put out, which is very different from what the investigators told me who were working on the case. We'll be dealing with all that in our way with our lawsuit, rather than trying to fight it out with the propaganda blogs and those who just copy those things. It's really pointless to try to get in that level of argument with those people. But it does appear as though, to me anyway, logically, someone has tried to shape the narrative in an incorrect direction in a way that doesn't reflect the facts. and we'll try to find out who's helping do that and why, if it's possible, in the course of the lawsuit that we've been pursuing.
Is the key here to get down to the fact is who is shaping the narrative? Who is that final person at the end doing this?
Who knows if we'll ever know such a thing? But I would say, reading the summary, it sure looks to me like there's someone's finger is in the pot, because once again, they won't give me the original information, which is subject to FOIA request, and the tone of the summary does not reflect the tone of the investigators' conversations and discussions with me.
I want to remind everybody once again, the book is called Stonewalled, My Fight for Truth Against the Forces of Obstruction, Intimidation, and Harassment in Obama's Washington. Sharyl Attkisson is the author, and she will continue to fight this fight. We'll continue to talk to her. Sharyl, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you so much.
All right, pleasure. When we continue, question everything here on MidPoint.